Hello, thanks for joining me today. Today, I have the rare privilege of sitting with the legend, the legendary Reze Bonna. Do you know I've waited and waited and waited for this opportunity, and now it's here, and I'm going to grill him. But seriously now, I've always wondered what drives him, what makes him. Does he actually have the Midas touch? I've always wondered. Today I'm going to find out, because it seems as if he's good at everything he does. No, I think I'll say that again. He's excellent at everything he does, and he does it at the highest levels. Today I'm going to sit with, like I said, the legendary Reze Bonna. He's a photographer, he's an artist representative, he's an architect, he's a property investor and developer, and he's also a mentor to a lot of young people. He's got an outstanding track record all over the world. So sit back and relax. And I think you should get a part 2, because he's going to share wise words from the grey-haired one. We'll be right back.
Come behind me as well. More, okay.
Yeah.
That was nice. If you're ready, go. Chin down.
You're welcome back. Today I have with me the legend himself, Reze Bonna. And I've waited so long for this opportunity. You know, it's so difficult to catch up with him. The only time I see him is on the pages of the paper, or on blogs, or on red carpet when he's busy strutting his stuff. You know, Reze, how do you do it? You have to tell me today, how do you do it?
I don't know, I just show up.
You just show up.
Yes.
And you show up in style, I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay, so tell us about yourself. How would you describe yourself in your own words?
I think I'm restless human being. Creative, I try to be. And then I like to push the norms, push the boundaries a bit and keep stretching it, because I believe that human knowledge has no limits and our achievement. So I try not to just accept the box, but try to walk around it, stretch it, pull it, break it, and do everything that it takes to work outside of it.
Wow. So you're an architect by profession and training?
Yes, I'm an architect.
And that's
I'm also
all.
a music producer. I'm a music representative. I'm a photographer. And that's it.
Are you sure?
I think we should stop at that. Well, real estate developer as well. We're also into properties as well.
Okay, so
yeah.
I think you should go into more details, because you do this at the highest levels. I must say, you've worked with legends again, like Kirk Franklin. Name drop, please, for us.
Well, yeah, I work with Kirk Franklin in Africa, represent him, and also work with Chevelle Franklin. Worked with a few other artists, done some stints with C.C. Winans,
Wow.
with Donny McLaughlin, and some of the other artists as well.
At this point, I'm officially starstruck, you know?
Then in photography, I've shot, let me see, the past president of America, Bill Clinton.
Oh
worked
my
with the president
God.
of Nigeria, Jonathan. Worked with several governors, Ekiti State, Delta State, Benue State Governor. I've worked with Roberto Cavalli, Vogue.
Wow.
Done some shoots with GQ.
Wow.
And Pride Magazine, UK. Also, I shoot regularly with This Day Style for the covers. I also work with African Music Magazine in Dallas. That's also something I do. And then with the artists and designers, Two Face, P Square, D'banj, and quite a number of other names. I don't think we should spend too much time mentioning anything.
But these are artists that, the top artists in Africa, not just in Nigeria.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, as well. And then Michelle Williams, well, people in showbiz, Amber Rose, Janice Dickinson, models and all of that. Yes.
And you're
yeah.
And you're part of the first set of team that brought Kirk Franklin to Nigeria.
Yes, I was working with a group called Rhythm 5. My wife was involved as well, and a few other people, kind of a B and go. I've I've worked with quite a number of the churches. I've been involved in some of the events like the Experience, and then in TV production, helped to set up media for some ministries, Christ Embassy, House on the Rock, Word of Life, and quite a number of them.
So you're a pioneer of sorts, if I should say that.
If you say so, yeah.
How do you do it, and how do you do it at the highest levels? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, the thing is to strive for excellence, see what the limits are, like I said, try and push them, and not be satisfied with the standards or limits within your environment, but try to make sure you meet up with international standards. So, like I said earlier on, there's no point trying to meet up with international standards using local parameters, because things are different. The way you do things in one country is different from the other, so you must be knowledgeable to know what each country would accept, and also what the world in general would accept. And then you also have to go beyond what people know, because the only way you can lead someone somewhere is to have gone there yourself, and then you can direct them. So try and go there when you're on your own, and once you do that, you can then direct other people that way. So I just try to push it. Sometimes it's not like I know what the outcome is going to be, but if you don't try, you won't get there. That's the thing. Like the scripture says, why sit we here and die? Yeah.
And I've seen you, because I've known you for quite a number of years now, but I've seen you evolve over time. I know you used to play the keyboard, and then now you've diversified into different areas of business. What drives you? What's the motivation behind the work that you do?
Hunger. Hunger drives me in every way possible. Hunger to achieve, hunger to succeed. Hunger because I need more, because I'm not satisfied. Because hunger means I have eaten before, but at this point in time, whatever I've taken is not enough anymore, and I need something to keep me going. I need to fuel up. So it's that hunger that will make me fuel up for the journey ahead. But if you get to a point when you're no longer hungry, you're going to die. So really, hunger is what drives me, like I would say, and then strive on for excellence.
So if you're always satisfied and you always want to improve yourself, at what point would you say, I'm content?
The only point I would be content is when I die. Really, because things are evolving. Imagine if you were the best typist with a typewriter, and then you got content with that, and then it changed and people are now using computers. You would, of course, you become obsolete and you'll die off at that point in time. And even with computers, there was a time when it was the Amiga, and then it moves on to something else and something else. So you never really get to a point where you stop, because when you do that, the world is going to pass you by. And then you also don't get to a point where you neglect the upcoming, the younger generation as well. Because when you do that, they're going to pass you by, because what you knew then, if you get to a point where you're trying to satisfy the old, then you're fading away, and then you become orthodox in thinking. Rather, try and get used to the new things coming out, and then challenge the norms as well and understand them.
How did you just start from working within your local community and then brand your business as an international business?
Well, the thing is, it's not like I actually start out at the top. You have to start at the bottom, especially if you're just educating yourself in what you do. But you must find out what the limits are, both locally and internationally, and strive to meet the limits outside your community. If you want to meet just the limits within your community, then you end up as a local champion. But if you find out what is international and you strive for that, even if you don't get the best, at least you have enough to take you outside of where you are. And that's the way I choose to operate. Also, you don't forget that you have to pay your dues in whatever you're doing. There's really nothing you pick up and you get straight to the top. If you rush to the top, you rush out as well. So you must take your time, and that will require internship. You will have to serve, you will have to study, you have to take time, and the scripture says study to show yourself approved, a workman that needs not be ashamed. So what you're doing, you must not be ashamed of it at the end of the day. Regardless of if you are visible or not, one should be able to see the work and then rate it and know if it's good enough and if it appeals outside. By virtue of the fact that I don't stay in one place as well, I tend to move around a lot. So in each place, I try to be relevant to that community. That will also require you breaking the norms. It will also require you pushing the boundaries of tradition, because what is tradition in one place might not apply in the other place.
That's right.
And as an artist, art is meant to provoke thought, invoke emotions, and revoke boundaries. So I try to, meet up with all of those parameters wherever I go and express my art. And if it's good enough, it will inspire people. So really, that's what I try to do.
So it's not as if you have the Midas touch, or you strive for excellence also.
Well, I hear people say he has the Midas touch. I'm sure to everyone that refers to, they'll tell you they don't think they do. It's just that it's good enough to impress people enough to accept it. But for me, I'm not satisfied with it. So even when people look at it and say, awesome, the moment I accept that this is the best I can do, that's the moment I stop being relevant.
Moving on from the music.
Yes.
How have you been able to, work with the greatest minds on earth? I'm talking about Vogue, Roberto Cavalli, and all these great people. How did this start, and why did you go into photography?
I went into photography because, like I said, I'm restless. That's one. My wife and I sat down once and said, what else can we do? Because in the course of work, there are times when you have down times, there are times when you don't have much to do, and other times we'll be looking for opportunities for other streams of income, And so we decided at a point, look, prior to this time, I have a brother who is a photographer and who is doing so well. If I needed images, he would do the photography part for me, and then I would do the edits. But there he was in America, busy, and I couldn't really continue to do that side of work with him. And so I decided to take it on myself, and the first thing was to go do some studies on it. And then, let me speak like I'm speaking to you now. Find out what is your own niche. Find out what strengths you have. For instance, I'm an architect. So I'm used to light and shade. I'm used to structure and form. I'm used to perspective and all. So that would reflect in the kind of photography I do, regardless of if I'm shooting architectural photography or food photography or people. But in working with people as well, you must study human beings. You must study how they react to things. You must be able to help them achieve more than they can. So I try to see what I can do to stretch them beyond their own limits and their boundaries in putting my images together. Of course, my architectural background will be reflected in it. Now, the thing is, if you then find out what your strengths are and you work with it and you make it unique, and not just try to copy people, but invent something else, try to stretch the limits, try to stretch the boundaries, people will take notice. And once they notice it, then they will ask you to come help them out in other areas, because at that point in time there aren't many alternatives. And so one thing leads to another, and before you know it, you're going to be working with people who also aren't satisfied with the norm. And that's really what the journey has been. And then opportunities come as well. And sometimes, like for instance, with Roberto Cavalli and Franca Sozzani of Vogue, they needed someone. Whoever it is that is going to give you the opportunity as well will not want to waste it with someone who says, I have passion and I have a camera. But rather, they want to make sure at the end of the day they're getting good quality, because the clientele also will not identify with it if the quality doesn't meet up to their standards, But while doing that, study them as well, try and understand them. Incidentally, people say, how were you able to work with Janice Dickinson because she's difficult? How are you able to do a shoot with her? I would say incidentally it was quite easy. The reason being, she is a professional. She is an icon. So she knows her onions. But the difficult part would be for me with the camera. Am I able to capture her at the right moment, the right way, the way that will portray her image?
Considering it wasn't planned, sorry to interrupt you, but
yes.
Considering that was a spontaneous...
yes, considering it wasn't planned and it was spontaneous as well.
So
that's where they say proper preparation prevents poor performance. In other words, you must have honed your skills. You must have prepared, so when the opportunity comes, that is not the point when you start wondering what is the right ISO that I need to use, or what lens am I going to use to do this shot. So prepare yourself adequately, for the time when the opportunity comes, and then when time and chance meet together, you will be able to deliver. There's also a saying that goes, practice makes permanent. A lot of people say practice makes perfect, but I'd rather say practice makes permanent. What I'm trying to say is, if you practice the wrong way, even though you're practicing but you're doing it the wrong way, it will become a part of you. Muscles also have memory. For instance, if you're used to doing push-ups and you can do 5 today, tomorrow your muscles remember you met up with 5 and they'll deliver 6. The next day they'll deliver 7, because you've stretched them beyond their limits and you've taken it to the limits of what you can do. So the first thing is practice, but practice within the right parameters, and then stretch the boundaries. You will find out you can deliver more and more and more.
So lucky that we're able to catch you today, because honestly, the only place you can catch it is probably an international airport. But how do you find the time to do all the business interests that you have? And do you also have time for architecture?
I do have time for architecture. I do have projects running at the moment. Incidentally, this isn't a secret because I've said it in other interviews. My wife is my partner. She's also a photographer. She's an architect. She's also a realtor and all of that. So we have a lot of common interests.
Okay.
So what we try to do is load shed for each other. So sometimes I'm out of the country and there's a meeting that needs to be done, then she'll cover up for me. And sometimes she has a client that she needs to sell some property to and I'm in the vicinity, then I can do that as well. In other words, we try to keep up with each other, and then when we're together, creativity flows.
Wow.
At this point in time, we're in the process of developing some estates in South Africa. Land is already acquired, designs are done, and we're going through the approval process. We also have other properties that we're in the process of starting. There's also a prospective hotel in Lagos that we need to do. So it's scheduling. You schedule your site meetings, you have your assistants meet up with the ones you can't, but you inform them properly and see if they can do that. And then with my wife, who is also my partner, we're also able to do a proper tag team.
Yeah.
You know, so that helps. That is a great help. You know, but as you all know, you can't always be busy all the time in one particular thing, and you can't be satisfied with one. So we just try to spread our tentacles.
Okay.
Yes.
So you have property developments in Nigeria, in the US, and you've done a bit of designs, I think cinema designs. I heard about that. Tell us about that.
Well, within Nigeria, we worked on the new metro projects, and then that led to the development of the Silverbed Gallery and then the cinemas at the Palms. We partnered with a firm here, and my wife, the arrangement was my wife would work in the office here.
That's in South Africa?
In South Africa. And then I was based in Lagos for the site meetings. And so she worked with them on the designs, and incidentally, one of the designs she came up with ended up being taken on by New Metro, and they changed their whole design style in all the cinemas, you know, around the continent, and of course she was given an award for that.
Really?
Yes, so that's quite interesting. From then on, we've gone on to develop estates, we've gone on to develop a resort, we've gone on to work on hotel projects. We have partnered with Franz Yeshe, who is also the designer of the Intercontinental Sun in Sandton, and then also Sun City in South Africa. So that is also exciting, you know. That's what we're doing in that side of it. Presently, we're also looking at a hotel development in Nigeria, and then we also have some residential that we're working on as well. And that's basically it. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, so what does the future hold for you?
The future, I cannot tell you exactly what's going to happen in the future, but I can tell you it's exciting in the sense that we're preparing ourselves for what comes ahead. We're preparing for changes. The future is going to be different from now in the sense that the tools that people use, either for publicity, for social media, is going to be different. The tools we use now as we know them, like the iPhones and the iPads and all of that, are going to change. So the best thing is keep an open mind and study, and any new thing that comes, try it out, even if it doesn't work. You get more success out of failures, and you can't fail if you don't try. So try as much as you can. But when you take risks, make sure they are calculated risks. In essence, don't just go and jump off a cliff because people do bungee jumping. Because if you jump a 250-meter cliff and you do it with a 251-meter rope, you're going to die. If you actually even do a 250-meter jump with a 250-meter rope, you're going to die as well. Because you must take into cognizance your own height and then make sure the rope you're using is just enough for you to take you off the ground so you don't hit the floor. So your risks must be calculated, but do take risks. The challenge we have is that a lot of us sit in our comfort zone. We conquer one place and we feel that's it and we want to stay there forever. You'll find out that you'll get obsolete soon.
Wow, wise words from the grey-haired one. I did tell you to get your pen, your pad, your iPad, because there's so much to glean from him. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have learned a lot from you. I have learned a lot. And now I'm a bit uncomfortable because I feel as if I have to get up and go and do something and do better and improve myself. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. I've had fun as well. Bye.
I'll be back next week.